Hello, this is your host, Austin Hopkins, and welcome to the Introvert Leader Podcast. Welcome to episode 53. Happy to have you guys here today. We're going to be chatting about complaining in just a second. But before we do that, I want to give you a couple things I've been into recently. So music-wise, I'm bringing it back. I'm taking it way back. For those of you who know, you know, but Mr. Marvin Gaye, fantastic singer, inspired so many R&B stars today. And what I've been listening to recently, two of his albums. One is Trouble Man soundtrack, was fantastic. Actually heard of that for the first time watching a Marvel movie. They referenced it. I had never heard of that. And then the second album, the one I probably love even more, is Let's Get It On. And you just packed with solid songs that you would know, that are catchy, that are easy to sing along to. So if you haven't really gone back and checked out Marvin Gaye, you're missing out. This guy's got a beautiful voice, and I think he's incredibly talented, and just love listening to his music and kind of strolling down memory lane. All right, YouTube content. I heard about this channel, Kara and Nate, probably in like 2017, I think, 2018. And two young folks in their 30s, married, no kids, and they travel the world and they document it all. So I've been watching their videos for years. And what I really like about their style is their humility. I like they have kind of a chill style. They're not super in your face or aggressive, very relaxed. And I love just seeing how they kind of travel the world, interact with people. And it's fun if you're not a big traveler like myself. I don't travel a lot all over the world. It's nice to kind of peer in and see what things look like just from the comfort of your own home. So if you want to get away, you want to escape, you want to listen to something cool, you want to watch some fun, entertaining people, check out Kara and Nate. I really enjoy their videos. All right, TV and movies. I went back and I made the wife watch Princess Bride. I don't know if you've seen it, but Princess Bride is just a great movie. Super funny. You know, it's not new by any means, but it's got some solid actors in it, got a lot of quotable lines, and she had never seen it, but she loved it. So I was really happy to be able to show her a movie I grew up on that she hadn't seen and actually have her enjoy it. And that's not always the case. So that's what I've been into recently. Okay, I want to transition. We're going to go ahead and jump into it. So before we do that, I got to tell you, I am so tired. My legs hurt from my workout yesterday, and I never got a response from that client like they promised. And I haven't had any time to read this week because my parents are in town. How do you feel right now? A little bummed out? Yeah, me too. And so that's why we're going to chat about complaining today. You know, it's super common, right? It's something that we see in our friends and our families and in ourselves. And, I've been guilty of it, right? But I try my best to avoid it. And so I want to dive into complaining today. We're going to talk about why we do it, what it looks like in leadership, how to avoid it, what effect it has on us and our careers. And, the fact is you've complained before and I've complained, but it's hurting our careers and our future prospects. And it can be so easy to fall into that pattern, but honestly, it's rarely good. So today we're going to be talking about all things complaining. So I want you to sit back, listen up as I jump into today's episode, which is titled Stop Complaining. So why do we complain? I think folks complain for many reasons, and it looks different, obviously, in every person. I did a little reflection. I put together a little bit of research I did on what I think are like the top 5 reasons that I've seen folks complain in my career and my life. So the first one is it feels good in the moment, right? It kind of soothes our anxiety. You're not feeling well about something. You're stressing out. Things aren't going well. So gosh, if I just say it out loud, it's going to feel good, right? And I think we tell ourselves that it's going to feel good, or maybe we don't. Maybe we just do it subconsciously. It's just as a kind of a soothing mechanism. Another reason I think we complain is we want validation. We want the people to know how hard we really have it, right? We want people to know, hey, the struggle we're going through. So gosh, I hope people understand what I'm going through. I think another reason sometimes we do it is it reinforces our own ego. Right? We like to tell it like it is because we know best, right? We know better than everyone. And if we complain about something, that means it's true and that means it's fact, right? I think another way that we do it, and maybe this is a kind of a positive, if you had to pull one positive around complaining, is it can help us build a bond with others. And, maybe it's I'm going through something really shitty at work and maybe I'm not the only one. So being able to kind of share that and complain, maybe that kind of helps with bonding. I will say I think there's better ways to do it, but that could be a reason some people complain. And, I think the last one, which is, sometimes we complain when we feel powerless. We tell ourselves that we're unable to change the situation. And so, gosh, I better just complain about it because there's nothing else I can do. So, whether or not those are good reasons or effective or healthy, I don't know, but those are just the most common reasons I've seen people complain. And, I want to tell you a little bit of what that would actually look like at work. So what does complaining look like at work? Because I think sometimes we may not even realize we're complaining. And, sometimes it can be confused with venting or sharing. I personally think it's a little different. So I figured I would share some examples of actual complaints that I've heard in my career. So these are actual complaints, didn't make them up. I've heard these before. And first one, Jessica always gets the good clients. I never get any of the good clients. Another one, they don't care about me and I don't get paid enough. Gosh, it sucks here. Another one, gosh, I have way too much work to do. I don't have any time. I'm way too busy. Another one, Carol is the worst manager ever. She doesn't even know what she's doing. Are you guilty of saying anything like this? I know I have for sure, right? And all of those are kind of just complaining, right? Those are all just kind of run-of-the-mill complaints that we've heard. You're bitching, you're complaining, you're moaning, things aren't going well, and you want to tell people about it. I get it. I know for a fact, like I said, I've been guilty of saying things like this, and I'm sure you have as well. So we've both been guilty of complaining, all right? Let's just be honest with each other. And we've maybe covered a little bit of the examples of why we've done it and, actually some examples of what complaints I've heard. But what I want to do is transition and talk a little bit about why I think complaining really sucks and why I think it might be hurting you more than you think. So I want to break down the 3 impacts that I really see of complaining. I want to talk about the personal impact. I want to talk about the professional impact, and I want to talk about the social impact. So personal impact. Did you know that after you complain, it makes you feel worse shortly after, right? Again, self-soothing in the moment, it might feel kind of good, but as soon as you're done, you're now reminded of the shitty situation you're in. You just brought it to the surface. You just gave it energy. You just gave it attention. You just talked about it, right? And what we talk about, what we think about, we give energy, and then that starts to manifest itself in other ways in our life. Another huge impact is, I think it starts to rewire you for negativity. The more you complain, the more likely you are to do it over and over again. So if you're always talking about what's not going right, what you're lacking, what you wish would happen, what do you think that does? Does that make you more positive? Does that make you more effective? Does that make you more fun to be around? Nah. It rewires you for negativity because you're doing that and it's reinforcing that over and over and over again. So personal impact, man, complaining, it can really mess with you personally. You're going to feel worse after, and you're going to start to get rewired for negativity, which I don't think anybody wants. So personal impact, we talked about those. What about professional? Does it even have any effect on your professional life? Yeah, it does. So number one, it's going to hurt your career and your reputation. Habitual complainers are seen as less qualified, capable, and negative, right? Take this from a guy who was a leader for over a decade. When I had employees that were constantly complaining, I'm telling you that I didn't think of them in a good light. I thought of them as someone who can't figure their shit out, that is struggling, that has to complain about it, that doesn't know how to take action. And so for me, that really was not a good thing in my eyes as a leader. I'm not the only one. And unfortunately, those folks that complain a lot at work, it starts to close off opportunities. So leaders like myself are going to be less likely to tap you on the shoulder if you're always complaining. At the end of the day, they want someone to deliver value, to take over a project, initiative. They don't want more friction in their life. As a leader, there's a lot of stress that we have, right? And we want people to bring solutions and not bring their problems to us. So if you're always going around complaining, you're in meetings, you're complaining when you're on the hallway, when you see someone on a call, you're complaining. What do you think that's doing? Do you think that's helping your prospects? Do you think that's getting you more attention of the right kind? Do you think that's showing folks that you're able and capable of doing stuff? My guess, probably not. So definitely personal impact, definitely a professional impact, both negative, I should say. And then the social impact. This one is just more of on a human to human level. So first and foremost, nobody wants to hear you complain, right? I'm just going to be really honest with you. No one wants to hear you complain. We all have our own problems. We all are going through stuff. All of us, every single one of us has our own problems. Health problems, relationship problems, work problems, financial problems. Doesn't matter. We all have our own. So the last thing we want to do is be around someone else who's telling me about all of their problems and bitching and complaining about it. I'm sorry. I just do not have any energy for that. Another one, people don't want to be around you. right? Most folks don't want to spend their time with negative energy. At least I'll speak for myself and the circle I'm around is if we're spending time with someone new and they're complaining and being negative, yeah, they're probably not going to be in our circle for very much longer. So for me personally, if you're a complainer, someone who's super negative, I have zero interest in spending any time with you. Another thing too is I think it really just bums people out, man. Complaining is kind of the opposite of making people feel better. My goal in my life, my career, is that I want to make folks the best version of themselves. So if I go around complaining about why my life sucks and why things aren't going well and why I'm not making enough money or why I'm not as healthy or as fit as I want or why I don't have as nice of a car as I think I should, how do you think that makes people feel around me? Does it make them feel better? Does it make their life improve? No, it's the opposite. They are going to leave that interaction feeling a little less positive, a little less energized, and their state of just being is going to be a little bit lower. And honestly, I don't want to leave people with that. That's not my goal. So if your goal is to leave people better than when you found them, complaining ain't it. So, obviously there's some big personal, professional, and social impact of complaining. And I really want you to take that into heart. And this isn't just Austin's opinion. This is an opinion of someone who was a leader in Fortune 100 companies that worked at the highest level, that interacted with the C-suite. And I can just tell you what those kind of folks want. And negativity and complaining ain't it. It is the exact opposite. They want solutions. They want value. They don't want to be brought down. So keep that in mind. If maybe you're struggling at work and you're not getting ahead as much as you think, and maybe you're not building those connections, maybe look in the mirror, ask yourself, am I complaining? Am I someone who's always finding the negative in something and talking about why I don't have it fair and why it's not working for me? If so, maybe it's time to kind of stop doing that at work. As I mentioned, I was a leader for over a decade. And, I want to talk a little bit about the correlation of complaining and leadership. So, I'm curious. Have you ever had a leader or a manager complain and then you start to lose a little respect for them? And I'm guessing the answer is yes. That's how it's been for me. I've had a couple of leaders where I've seen them start to complain and it does something. It kind of changes the way I view them. And so here's why I don't think you should really complain ever as a leader. First thing, it can damage your credibility, right? Your problems that you're going through, while they are important, and I get it, we all as leaders have our own problems, and a lot of times they're really complicated and, stressful. But at the end of the day, your problems probably pale in comparison to the problems of your team, right? They're in the weeds actually doing the shit, the stuff that's hard, right? They're the one actually putting in the really hard work a lot of times. So for you to go in there and complain about your problems, it seems a little out of touch. It's almost like a millionaire saying, oh my gosh, I only have one yacht to use this weekend. I really wish I had two. It's like, have you lost touch with reality? Do you realize what's going on? No one cares about your problems, especially as a leader. So when you're complaining about your quote unquote problems that you face as a leader, I think you seem out of touch. And at least that's how I view leaders in the past who've done that. So you may disagree, but that's how I view leaders. Another one, I think just from a cultural standpoint, it can do some really negative things, right? If you start to complain and make that a really big part of your interaction with your team, three things are going to happen. Number one, feedback might stop. So you might realize that before, you encouraged feedback, you asked for it, you wanted to improve, but your team might stop giving you that feedback because at the end of the day, they know you're just going to complain. So why would I go up and try to help someone who's just going to complain? It's not going to be right, whatever I say, right? So I'm just going to not do that. Another thing, they're going to avoid you, right? I'll tell you, when I had a leader who was a super big complainer, did I want to spend any time with that person? Nope. I avoided them at all costs because I always left their company feeling worse. And as a leader, we don't want our teams to avoid us, right? We want them to want to spend time with us and us being able to make them better. So if they're avoiding us, not a good thing. And then I think at the end of the day too, your team is going to stop being honest, right? They're going to avoid telling you big problems, big things that are going on, because at the end of the day, they know you're going to complain about it. You're going to make them feel worse for it. So why would they proactively want to hear you complain and be honest? They're not going to. So I think those are some really big things that can happen as a result of complaining if you're a leader. Now, we're human, right? So I don't want to sit here and tell you from today on, I never want to hear you complain ever again, because you're going to. It's going to happen. Even the best of us are going to complain from time to time. So if you must complain as a leader, 3 golden rules you got to remember. Number 1, never complain in public. If you're going to complain, pull someone aside that you trust and you have to share, go ahead, right? I still don't recommend complaining to your employees, but if you must, never do it in public. Number two, never gossip. If you're complaining, you should not be gossiping about someone. It should be you sharing kind of what you're feeling, what you're going through, which we'll talk more about in a second, but never gossip or complain about someone else specifically. And then the last thing, I think, if you must complain, never spend a significant time doing it, right? A couple of minutes here and there, okay. If you have to, you can't control yourself, I get it. But if you're spending a portion of every time you interact with your team complaining, you failed already, man. Not what you should be doing. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, Austin, I get it. Complaining sucks. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm over it. Today, I'm a new person. Well, what do I do instead? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Here are a couple things that I think you can start doing right away today to set yourself up for success and avoid doing that really unhealthy behavior of complaining. So you're finding yourself in this moment and you're wanting to complain. Here are the ways that I've avoided complaining and kind of focus more on productive actions. So number one is problem solve and take action. So example, your boss sucks and you don't think that they really are trying to help you grow in your career. So you could complain to your friend and you could pull them aside and say, dude, my boss freaking sucks, man. They don't care about my growth. They're not doing anything to help me get, a promotion. Or you could not complain to your friend and instead think of one thing you could do this week to help your boss improve. So let's say they're not helping you in your career at all. They're not helping you get promoted. Maybe it's as simple as you just pulling them to the side and letting them know you need their help. So that would be one proactive, productive, problem-solving action thing you could do instead of complaining. So instead of just complaining, talking about the situation you're in, you're thinking of one thing you could do to help your boss improve, one thing you could do to improve the situation. So problem-solving, taking action, number one thing. Number two, focus on the future. So for example, let's say you're working out and it's freaking hard. You're out of shape, you're breathing super heavy, and instead of, complaining to your spouse, why don't you focus on the end goal? Right? You're going to be healthier. You're going to be fitter. You're going to live longer. So a little short-term discomfort is totally worth the reward later. So in those moments when things aren't going well, I want you to start thinking about the future. What is this kind of uncomfortable situation you're at right now leading to? Is it building you up for something that's bigger? I believe that we get exposed to things that are really tough, but it's meant to prepare us for the next big thing. And had we not gone through those hard times, we would not be ready for the big thing. Quick example, my last kind of corporate job was a really tough situation. I had some really uncomfortable, morale dampening situations. And in the moment, it was so easy to want to complain, but I just kept thinking to myself and praying about it too, that, dude, something else better is coming. This is getting me ready for something bigger, which by the way, it did. It led to this podcast and being able to start my own business. So I do truly believe that. Another one is I want you to label this situation as temporary. Nothing is forever. Nothing good lasts forever. Nothing bad lasts forever. Nothing is forever. Everything is temporary. So let's say, for example, you're not getting paid enough. You could totally go around and complain and be like, dude, I am not getting paid enough. I work way too hard. No one pays me what I deserve. This freaking sucks. I hate it. I don't know what to do. Gosh, I hate it. This sucks so much. Okay. Or you could tell yourself, yeah, I don't get paid enough right now, but I got a raise last year and I'm going to get a raise this year and I'm going to be getting promoted in the next year and I'm going to be paid more eventually. So instead of focusing on where you're at right now and why that's not great, label it as temporary. Temporarily right now, I'm not getting paid enough, but that's not going to be the case for the rest of my life. I'm going to make decisions. I'm going to get in the right rooms. I'm going to take the right actions that are going to get me paid more. So if things are shitty, I just want you to realize and pull yourself back a little bit, have a little, awareness of what's actually at play and that it's temporary. Nothing is forever. So whatever bad thing is going on right now, it's not going to be that way in the next 6 months and the next year, right? It's going to change. I promise you, everything bad you were going through is temporary. So just really remember that. It kind of takes the edge off a little bit, in my opinion. I think another one that has really helped me is practicing gratitude. And I know that sometimes kind of sounds cliche. Oh, I have a gratitude journal. And I don't have a journal. It's not a big thing for me. But here's an example, right? Let's say you have a car that's old and it's not very sexy, but it works. And it could be super easy to complain about not having a nice car. Or you could take a quick second and realize, well, dang, man, at least I have a car to get me to work every day. There's tons of people who have to ride the bus or the train. And how lucky am I that I actually have a car that even works? So I think practicing gratitude and really, trying to take stock of the good things in your life can go a long way. Because when you focus on the good, you stop focusing on the bad so much. And I know you may not feel it. Maybe there's folks listening today that really think, well, Austin, that might be easy for you to say. But a lot of things are going shitty in my life. And you've heard me say this before on the podcast, and I'll say it again, that not everything in your life is bad. And if you were to compare it, there is something good in your life that is better than the average person, something that is going well. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your relationship, maybe it's your study habits, maybe it's your work, maybe it's a number of things. There's something in your life you can be grateful for. Hell, it could be as simple as today's sunny. Wow, I get to get outside for a walk. Oh my gosh, my favorite TV show is on tonight. I don't care what it is. Be grateful. The more you practice gratitude, the more you think about those things, say thanks to the universe, to God, whoever, about the good things in your life, the easier it will be to not focus on the things that are going bad and to avoid complaining. Now, that being said, I am not saying that I want you to bottle up everything that's going on in your life and then one day explode. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, I want you to be careful about if you are going to complain. I would really like to reframe that as share how you're feeling as opposed to complaining. I like to think of complaining as just saying things suck. Everything sucks. I don't know how this is ever going to get better. The end of the world's here, right? I think another way to do that is to share how you're feeling. So let's say, for example, work has been really tough recently and you aren't feeling like you're getting recognized for your efforts. And hey, by the way, I've been there. So you could choose to complain to your spouse and say stuff like, dude, work sucks and I hate everything. Or you could say, hey, honey, I'm really struggling at work right now. I feel like my efforts are not getting noticed. I'm just struggling with it. So if I'm a little down tonight, that's why. One is straight up complaining. And the other is kind of simply sharing how you're feeling. And it's not giving an overly negative theme. And it's not saying I've given up or that I can't fix it. It's just saying, hey, here's what I'm going through. I also think another big thing to do is when I have been in these moments where I do want to share how I'm feeling with a friend or a spouse, as opposed to just sharing what's going on, I like to also share what my plan is to fix it. Because I want people to know that I'm not just complaining, that I'm sharing how I'm feeling and things aren't going well, but I'm also working on it, right? So, I remember when I was going through that really tough situation at work, I would a lot of times share with my wife, hey, today was a really hard day. Yeah, like my boss was not happy with me and it did not go well, but here's what I'm going to try to do next time when I meet with them next week. And just that little thing, it would almost kind of reframe that like, hey, this is not permanent. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to take action. Things are going to improve. I'm focused on a positive outcome as opposed to just saying, I've given up. Everything sucks. I have no control. I can't change anything. So I think those are some things you can do instead of complaining, problem solving, taking action, focusing on the future, labeling the situation as temporary and knowing that nothing lasts forever, sharing how you're feeling as opposed to complaining. I think practicing gratitude to keep perspective. Those are some really good ways that you can do that. Now, that being said, it's not going to happen overnight and you're not going to be perfect. And if you're a habitual complainer, it's going to take some time to change that. But I'm telling you, if you continue to complain and you continue to make that a big part of your life, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your relationships. It's going to hurt your work. It's going to hurt you personally. So stop doing it. Stop complaining, as the title of the episode says. So I want to transition, and instead of telling you a story, I want to read you a passage that I came across today in the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And it really resonated with me, and I think it kind of speaks to what we're talking about. So it's from book 10, section 3. Everything that happens in life is either something you can endure or something you can't. If you can endure it, then do so and stop complaining about it. If you can't endure it, then it will end anyway. Whether that means the situation resolves or your life ends, bringing the suffering to a close. Complaining won't change either outcome. Ooh, that's some good stuff, right? How I interpret that is like, there's going to be stuff that's going to be hard and there's going to be stuff that's easy and you're going to be able to get through it or you're not. And if you can't get through it, at the end of the day, like I said, nothing is forever. So let's say you have a horrible boss and that's not going well and you hate your boss and work sucks. Well, is that boss going to be your boss for the next 30 years? Are you never going to move companies? Is that person going to stay in the same role? Well, of course not. It's going to resolve itself. Or, God forbid, a little bit more bleak, your life's going to end and it won't matter anyways. But for me, I think I really, really like this. And P.S., if you haven't read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, I would recommend it. I'm reading the kind of the original version, so it's a little dense and some of the words are a little bit challenging to kind of understand and they're a little bit more dated. But I will say it's been very, very eye-opening and I've been learning a lot in it. So hopefully you enjoy that passage from Meditations. And I want to wrap up with a challenge. This week, I want you to catch yourself the next time you feel like complaining. I want you to ask yourself, will it make me feel better if I complain? Or Will it not? And if it doesn't, I would just probably bite your tongue. I would just internalize it. I would think about something you could do instead to fix the situation. And if you have a friend or a family member who's struggling with complaining, someone that's always kind of doing it, always kind of being negative and woe is me and thinking the world is against them, I want you to send this episode to them. Maybe they're going to get some value. Maybe they're going to realize, what their complaining is doing to them and to the people around them. And maybe they'll come away with a few different strategies to stop complaining. I want to say thank you so much for listening. Make it a great day. This has been the Introvert Leader Podcast. Subscribe for new episodes every other Wednesday.